Today on the bench I'm going to tie you up summer steel. Now this pattern is very effective for summer on steelhead, and the way Dale and I fish it is one person will have the dry fly set up with a dry fly where we spuddle on the top, and the other person will have the summer steel on, and usually summer steel, since it is subsurface, picks up the majority of fish. We have issues with that fighting over the rod and who's get to use it, but it is a very effective pattern. Make sure you have these materials ready before you tie the fly. For the hook, we're going to use a size 8 Mustad R90 steelhead hook, some 3/0 red thread to tie with, some thin black rabbit strip for the body, some fluorescent pink marabou and black marabou for the collar, and some small dumbbell eyes for the eyes. To start the fly off, as we do with all our patterns, is tie on a good base layer of our 3/0 red. And make sure this is 3/0. You want a fairly stout thread when you're tying this pattern, and tie it right to the back of the hook. Now that the thread's all tied in, we're going to take our dumbbell eyes, and I prefer the non-colored version, but you can use yellow, you can use pink, you can use different colors, but I prefer the silver eyes. And make sure you do a lot of figure eighting around the eyes. You want these to be solid on the hook, and you don't want them to move. So make sure you tie them in very good, figure eighting back and forth over the eyes. The next step is to tie in my black zonker strip, and it is a small black zonker strip. The most important part of this is you have the actual strip itself of the rabbit. What I'm going to do is make sure the strip goes as far as my thread, so really to the rear of the hook. I'm going to tie the strip in by the eyes, but I only want the strip part of the rabbit to go to the hook bend, and then actually the rabbit fur will extend past the hook, but you only want the strip to go to the hook bend. So that's a very important part. So what I'm going to do is cut it off at that point and tie it in right behind my eyes. Once the rabbit's tied in, we'll take some black marabou. And now this black marabou is going to be tied in the same as a hackle would be. We're going to strip off the butt section of the marabou. We're going to tie it in near the eyes. Trim off our excess stem. And actually take some hackle pliers, hook onto our marabou, and then wrap it around the fly about 2 or 3 times to create a marabou hackle. As you're wrapping the marabou, keep pulling it back towards the base of the hook, and this is actually going to create a real nice marabou collar. Keep pulling it back as you wrap it. Once you're finished pulling it all back, tie it in tie it off here, near behind the eyes. Now that the black collar of marabou is tied in, we want a very thin layer of our pink marabou. Now I've stripped it down. You can see on the camera here, I've stripped this pink one way down to just the top. I only want 1 or 2 wraps of the pink over top. It's just to highlight. So again, we're going to tie it in by the stem, just behind the eyes, tie it in good. Cut off the excess stem, and then take about 2 or 3 wraps of our pink marabou, probably only 2, just to give it a little bit of highlight. And I just hold it with my fingers, and again, as I tie it in, I'm pulling the material, the collar, back to accentuate the pattern, so that all that marabou goes back on the fly. And tie it off at just behind the eyes. To finish the fly off, we want to wrap around our eyelets. Again, wrap around our eyes and cover up anything around the eyes so we have a nice red head on the fly. And make sure you cover up any of that material that you've tied in earlier. And don't go too far back on the marabou. You want just the head to remain red just around the eyes. And give it a real, don't be afraid to wrap a lot of thread around there. Really fill in around the eyes with red. Move to the front, right up by the eyelet, and whip finish to finish off the fly. As I mentioned on the intro, the person who draws this fly first is usually the person that gets the first fish. Again, a great pattern to have in your arsenal when you're going after summer on steelhead. To watch all our latest Sport Fishing on the Fly episodes and to order Sport Fishing on the Fly merchandise,
head to www.sfotf.ca, and if you would like to book an adventure like this one showing, head to ontheflyadventures.ca and book yourself the trip of a lifetime.